Okay. So the director's dialogue today is the 5th. We'll start with occupancy, and this doesn't have a pointer on it, but that's okay. So you can see that we have 317, as of Friday, we have 317 independent living apartments and homes occupied. Our budget is to be 320, so we're 3 unfavorable to our budget. The thing has been wanting me to reboot my computer for 3 weeks, and I keep saying no. We have 7 people that have a 20% deposit with us. We have 4 that are in another phase. Their applications are in or out, or they're waiting for their medical thing to come. That leaves us with 13 homes that are unreserved. We have 341 total, so we're 93% occupied and 96% occupied and sold. In assisted living, we have 41 that were occupied as of Friday. We're supposed to have 38 in the budget, so we're favorable by 3. We have nobody in the pipeline. There is 1 that is available. So we're 98% occupied and 98% sold. We are 20 of 20 in memory care. We're 2 ahead of our budget. And as of Friday, we were 57 occupied in the healthcare. We have 60 rooms. We're 3 ahead of budget, and we're 95% occupied in that area. So it's a good, other than the 3 in independent living, it's a good, strong occupancy. For move-ins, we did have 4 in September. That was an actual. We expect to have 2 in October. We expect to have 4 in November, and we expect to have 3 in December. And we've already taken 1 for December, but I didn't add it on there. For COVID, we have no cases anywhere on campus today. Is that still coming to you on your television screens? Okay. Construction. The rehabilitation household is completed. It is occupied. It's located on the 4th floor of the healthcare building. It's right by the Cedar Grill. If you go to the Cedar Grill and you go to the left, there's a little seating area there that's real pretty. Just beyond that, there's a door. And if you open that door, that's the rehabilitation household. Our Medicare certification is a part of that. The construction is one piece and the certification is the other. And we're on track for that. We've been working very hard with all the work that's going into that. It's likely to be in December. I have one more piece of paper called a hospital transfer agreement that I need to get signed with the hospital. And once I get that, I'll send it in to the VDH. They'll put us on the inspection schedule. And at that point, it'll be sometime in 4 to 8 weeks is what they tell me. They'll have an unannounced certification survey. And when they do that, they'll decide whether we comply or not. And so that'll be a big survey for us. And then the other piece that's happening is the business office is working to get the Medicare payment and reimbursement parts all taken care of. So that's going down a different track, but we're paying attention to all those things. The next phase of construction, now that the rehabilitation household is finished, it's been occupied by the people who lived in the former Poppy Place. Poppy Place has moved. And so that construction started on Monday. It is 1/2 of the 4th floor of healthcare, what used to be Poppy Place. If you get off of the elevator, if you go up to healthcare to the 4th floor and you get off the elevator and to your left is a nurse's station, all the rooms to the right, all the way down that hall, are all vacant. And that's where that work is going to happen. And below that, on the 3rd floor of assisted living, If you go all the way down assisted living to the very end, and right in front of you is a door and a red covered tunnel, all the rooms to the right, so those two rooms, one on top of the other, are all vacant. And that's where the work is happening. And the objective with this phase is we're going to begin to convert all that fourth floor healthcare into new assisted living apartments. New assisted living apartments. 1-bedroom apartments. And so we'll get, there'll be 27 new ones. And so half of them will be built in this phase, and then we'll occupy it, and then we'll empty out the other half, and then the half below it, and we'll convert those, and then we'll be done with construction. These are projects that we're working on. As I've mentioned last month, we have hired a consultant. He's done a security assessment, a threat assessment. We haven't received it yet, but he's completed it, or he's working on it. He hasn't completed it or given it to us yet. And when we get that, we think sometime early November, early November, we'll have some training for IL residents and team members. We won't do a drill. In other words, we won't dress somebody up like an active shooter and walk them up and down the halls. But we will do education for people about what they can do in the case and what our plan is for in the event of an active shooter. And we'll also review the security assessment. I have in my mind that we'll just invite the man out here into this room, and y'all come and just hear him, and he'll give you the report, and he'll tell you where we're strong and where we need to improve. And we'll be very transparent about that. The generator is a project that continues to work. The design work is continuing to occur. The size of the generator has been specified, so we know what it is. It's a 200 kilowatt generator. We're going to begin the procurement process for that. In fact, we already have taken the preliminary steps on that process. So we want to go ahead and get that going. And in the meantime, while we're waiting for the generator to come, the rest of the design work can be occurring. They have to draw out all the wires and where they all go into a bid set so that a contractor can bid it and then take the work. So what still has to happen is we got to order the generator, which we're very close to doing. We'll complete the design work. We'll get into a CD or construction document set. We'll bid the job. We'll award the job to somebody. We'll schedule it, and then we'll complete the work. We know there's a 40 to 45 week lead time for generators. So we talked about going into the used generator market and seeing if we could find one quicker that way. We're told that that's a good way to go. And so we'll see what that leads to. But we won't get one unless we feel very comfortable with it. It has to have all its maintenance logs. We have to feel very comfortable that it's going to be a good buy for us before we buy it. If we can't, then we'll wait and get a new one. Okay? Telephone system upgrade. This is new. We haven't talked about this before. Pinnacle is essentially replacing the telephone system, which is pretty old. Our telephone system internally, or the one that's on my office, for example, and all of them, is happening throughout the company. 3 of 5 Pinnacle locations have had it done so far. The Pinnacle office is one. I think Richmond has been done. I think Windsor Meet has been done. We still have Cedarfield to go, and also Roanoke. So how does this affect you? Well, as I understand it, if you have a 474 prefix, 804, 474, blah, 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 then it may affect you. I don't know how exactly, and I don't think it's going to be a big deal for you, but you're on our telephone if you have that 474. And so we just need to learn more from Mark Collins exactly how it might affect you. It would be sometime in November is what he's thinking. He's trying to squeeze it in before Thanksgiving. Okay. So telephone system upgrade. Other important projects, the timing is not determined yet. The lobby, I say this every month, but I also have a practice of telling you things until you're sick and tired of hearing them, as opposed to you saying, you never tell me anything. So we're pricing the lobby, all that's happening. We just met yesterday again, got a good process in place for the bidding of the work. We've got the contractors identified. So we believe once we get an RFP out, a request for proposals, we'll give them 30 days to get back to us on that, and then we'll choose a contractor and move forward. It'll likely be February before we start work, realistically, because of the holidays and because of ordering things will take so long. I don't want to start with anybody's work until they can assure us that they have everything they need on hand. I don't want to hear, oh, we can't get that. It's going to be 4 months before we can get that. Well, I'd like to know that. Don't start until you have everything. So that's what we'll try to do there. This material outside, there's brick, and then there's this sort of beigeish material, looks like stucco. The brand name of it is EIFS. We call it EIFS because that's a terrible acronym. So we're getting some pricing for that now. We have identified a person to do that work for us. It's James River Exteriors. James River Exteriors, I think, is a very reputable company. And if you look at their website, they specialize in these coatings, and particularly in EIFS. So we feel good about them, but they can't give us a price because they want to do some exploratory work with the material to understand if there's a problem. They suspect that water has gotten behind some of the EIFS, and so they need to go in behind some of it and look. They don't want us to cover over a problem. They want to know what the problem is. Once they do that work, then they can give us a better price. And what I'm asking them to provide to us is one quote that is priced to phase the work over 3 years. One quote that will phase over 3 years worth of work. So we don't have to tackle the whole thing all at once. We can do 1/3 of the building, 1/3 of the building, 1/3 of the building, which feels better to me, both from a cash flow perspective and from just biting off more than we can chew. So that's where that is. So I'll let you know as soon as we have a time frame. They said they can work through the winter. As long as it's in the upper 40s and 50s, they can work. So there's that. Cracks in the fellowship hall. These are the cracks. They're good sized cracks. They're right here and they're right back there if you look from the outside in. And there's a company here. It is Southern Brick, and Southern Brick is here doing that work for us. They started today. They're cutting out some brick. You probably saw them, and they have some scaffolding set up out there. Then they're going to remove some brick. They're going to check on the fasteners and all that stuff, and they're going to put the brick back. The grout probably won't be exact, but it's pretty darn close. We got a sample of it and chose, and I think Southern Brick is experienced enough to be able to do a pretty good job, but there's no way it'll look exactly like it's never been touched. But it'll be sound again once they're done. And they're going to hopefully end the work on Tuesday of next week. So they need today, tomorrow, Friday, and then end of Monday. And so I just do Tuesday in there just in case. Okay? There's the crack. Other important projects that need to be planned, and I say this every month again, but I don't want you to think we're not thinking about it. The fellowship hall is still in the plan, and some conversation is going about that at a very high level right now. The secret garden has not been forgotten. It's still working too. It is an opportunity for philanthropy. We believe it's about a $100,000 project. We've got $60,000 in actual cash gifts and pledges today for that project. And if you have an interest in helping that project to be even more enhanced, then talk to Allison about that. It's the garden that most assisted living folks look out into. It's not terrible, but it's pretty blah the way it is today. There are no policy updates. Hiring. We continue to focus on hiring nurses and CNAs. We have a marketing director position open. I think we're very close to making an offer to someone. We had a last set of interviews with her today at lunch, and feel very good about her. So I think we'll probably end up making an offer tomorrow. We have one maintenance tech position open, and I believe we're going to make an offer to someone on that today. And we have one HVAC position open, and to my astonishment, they found somebody they like, and they made an offer yesterday, and I haven't heard yet whether that person accepted that position or not. So if that were to happen, if both those were to happen, then maintenance would be fully staffed. In dining, we actually have most of the cook positions filled, but he has, I think he said 6 people out for some sort of illness or surgery. A couple of them are going to be out for a couple of months. So he's stressed out. He, being David Stewart, is stressing out about not having enough people. We have the people, they're just not here. And we can't really replace them because, they're out on medical leave, so we can't fill their jobs. So we're just trying to work through all that. He's a little nervous about servers. He's got several server positions open. People did the new school year has started. I want to go back to school. My class load is too much, those kinds of things. So he's working through that. The continuing care series is the one before the last one. This is the second to last one. It's going to be emergency procedures. We're going to talk about what to do during a fire and independent living, tornado, emergency, power loss, all those kinds of things. We'll cover evacuation, all that kind of stuff. We'll do that on Monday, the 10th at 3 o'clock. I've invited Lacey to speak with me. He loves to speak in public. I don't know if you've noticed that about him. He's a ham. So Lacey's not a ham, and he hates speaking in public, but I'm going to make him do it anyway, because we got to talk about these emergencies. And Adrian will join us too, because you may have questions about, well, what about the health center? What are your processes? So she can talk about those. And then next month, in November, we will end the series with end-of-life planning. All those kinds of things, advanced directives, wills, funerals, just making sure everybody knows. Particularly, we want to talk about do not resuscitate orders, all those kinds of things. So it's an important conversation to have. That'll end the series. That'll be the 6th of 6. And then I have this idea that we'll start again in January. And we'll do February, March, April, May, June, July. And then we'll just start over again, because these are all topics that people either sometimes forget if we don't talk about them. New people come in. And so we just want to have a revolving education series on these important topics. Okay, now we're into questions. It's my favorite part of the meeting. If I was Pinocchio. Last month, people asked me about carpet in the apartment building between the floors. There's still old carpet on the stairs, and that is true. And I haven't done anything about that yet. I still need to explore some options on what we can do there, and I haven't done anything on it. So we'll keep it as active. Last month, someone asked how we meet the Virginia meetings requirement for continuing care communities. So I didn't know the answers, and I told you I didn't know, and I would get back with you. So now I know, and I'm getting back with you. So there's a code in Virginia that is in Chapter 49 of the Continuing Care Providers and Community-Based Continuing Care Providers section. And all that's important there is highlighted in B, and it says that the Board of Directors, its designated representative, or other such governing body of a continuing care facility shall hold meetings at least quarterly with residents or representatives elected by the residents of the continuing care facility for the purpose of free discussion of issues relating to the facility. That's the law. So I am now aware, the answer there, that Pinnacle's board has designated each of the community's executive directors as their designated representative for the purpose of fulfilling this requirement. It's my responsibility to meet with residents at least quarterly for the purpose of free discussion of issues relating to the facility. It has been my practice to meet with residents monthly in an environment that promotes free discussion, although I sometimes wish it was a little less free, about issues relating to the community, which I believe exceeds what this code requires. So there's your answer. Someone asked about gutters at the entrances that overflow, and I still need to look into that. I did not look into it. We'll keep it as active. Oh no, I had a question for this month. Oh, somehow it didn't get done. But the question was about electric cars. The question was, what are we doing about them? When can we get them? What's the time frame? And so the answer is that we're currently looking into electric charging stations for electric vehicles, EVs. We've met with 2 companies that do the work. We have no set plans at this point, have a general idea of what might work as far as location and number, have some ideas about how people would pay for that electricity, and no cost yet and no time frame. But there is an urgency about it, which is driven by market forces. There's electric cars. People have them currently living on our campus. And people are telling us, I want to live in an apartment and I want an electric car, or I have an electric car. What are you going to do about it? And so, to be perfectly honest, we're a little behind on this. We probably should have been having these discussions 5 years ago, and as we saw the movement towards electric vehicles. Well, I guess 5 years ago would have been a little bit of a gamble, but it's no question today that's coming and here. So that's the best answer I can give you. It's going to happen because it has to, but I don't have any great details to share with you at this point. But we'll be very sensitive to this idea of people paying for their own electricity, so that you don't get the sense that you're paying for other people's fuel. And they do that now. They can do it. They told us that you can do it now with an app on your phone, that all you have to do is swipe something in front of the thing, or even just pull up to it. It'll recognize you, grab your account, it'll turn it on for you. You can load your car and it'll bill you. So it's an easy way to do it. You don't have to have a swiper or anything, you just do it on a phone. And by golly, if you're driving an EV, you're probably pretty used to using your phone in that way, I would guess. And that's all that I have for you. But I would like at this time to try to answer any questions that you have on any topic whatsoever. No questions? Oh, yes. We can pass the mic. So, Ms. Pakula has a question.
I think I can talk.
Well, no, you can't, because the TV people got here too. Thank you.
In the D-wing garage, where the storage unit is, that area there is really dirty.
With leaves or with leaves?
Leaves, and I can't swear to it, but I thought I saw some mouse droppings.
Okay.
So I just thought maybe that needs to come to somebody's attention.
Have you done a work order or given Sharon a call?
Is that who I do?
Yes, ma'am.
And I will take care of that right now.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Back to the electric vehicles. Are you going to take into consideration the fact that these things do have a tendency to catch fire, and therefore, wherever you create a charging station, it will be isolated from everything else? Because I live in D-Wing, and I sure don't want one of those things parked underneath me.
The location that we have in mind would be away from everything as it stands today, but I don't know the location yet, so I can't swear to it. I don't want to mislead you about it.
What are the plans for what we're calling the gathering room?
Is that the same as the interfaith Learning Center. I don't know what the gathering room is.
Well, across from the bank, next
Yep.
to,
That has now been termed the Interfaith Learning Center, and it is a part of this project for the lobby and all that area. That's one of the things that'll be addressed in that project. So I might as well tell you and just be upfront with you. If our bids come back and they're way high, which they might be because we did these drawings 2 years ago, and a lot has changed in the cost of things and contractors' ability just to charge whatever they want. I have said to the person that's doing the bidding for us, please arrange your RFP in such a way that we're telling the contractor ahead of time what our VE or our value engineering process will be, so that they can be warned, number one, that some of this work may or may not be in play, but two, we can quickly identify things we need to take out. And in my mind, what we would probably take out first would be the 2 bathrooms that are close to where Lynette's office is and the clinic. They're currently in the project. I'd probably take them out and let us do them on our own at a different time. I'd probably take out the Interfaith Learning Center as a second VE item, only because at least you can close the door, and it's not a lot of work in there, so we can probably get to that ourselves at a later time. And that's the order that I would be thinking of not doing things if push comes to shove, which I have a feeling it might. Yes. What? Well, she got a. Oh, is there another mic? Yeah. Hold on, we got to follow up here. Follow us.
oh, okay. What's the planned use for that room?
Could you please repeat your question?
Her question was, what is the planned use for that room? And I haven't been here enough to know what the programming was meant to be for that room, other than it's called an Interfaith Learning Center. Does anyone know what the discussion was? Well, I assume we can use it for whatever we want to.
The D wing again on the second floor. When I bought the unit almost 2 years ago, and this has been reinforced by your predecessor, and I think even you at one point, that we were told, or I was certainly told, that area would be finished off the hallway that goes from this elevator all the way to the rest of the hall. It still looks like some utilitarian area or hallway that you would see for non-residential purposes.
Yeah.
You can't really take your guests in and out of that elevator. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And it's been going on 2 years, and I think 2 years we ought to be able to see something done, not promises. Thank you.
Okay, I understand. Thank you. Oh, his question, in case anybody didn't hear it, is that the second floor to the D wing, go down the elevators just out here and come off the elevator. It's very utilitarian looking, and he's making the comment that for 2 years some promises have been made to update that area, which has not come to fruition, and he believes that 2 years is long enough to wait.
Can we encourage a little bit more of proactiveness from housekeeping? The wall down outside of the first floor in the art gallery hub there is filthy. And unfortunately, the painters stopped about 6 feet from there, and yet when they do paint, they don't clean the wall beforehand. There's spilled food, etc. there that really needs to be taken care of, and some little bit of replastering because people have used their walkers and scooters and stuff to knock that off. And then the other thing is there's a rumor going around that we can have small dogs on all floors.
Okay. So the answer to your second question is no. There has been an exception that was unforeseen and it was an unforeseen thing that occurred that that happened. But the policy has not changed, and I wouldn't expect any other exceptions to that policy. The first question you asked was about, can the housekeepers be more proactive? And the answer is yes.
There are several stains on the carpet on the A wing to the outside, to the parking area. They have been worked on, but I think it takes a little bit more effort and a little bit more time for the people to scrub those stains and get them cleaned up. Those stains have been there for a while, and there are several places by the elevator and also down the A wing to the entrance. If somebody would spend a few more minutes on those stains, not just go over them, but make sure they're cleaned up before they leave, it would be greatly appreciated.
Okay. First floor, I said.
Yes.
A-wing first.
It's been reported a number of times.
Okay.
And I think it's a situation where dogs have had accidents and the resident was not responsible enough to go and report it immediately and or clean it up.
Okay. Understood. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Other questions? Any topic? Mr. Myers has a question.
Yes, could you give us an update on the status of the tunnel leak, both external and internal?
We just had a bunch of rain over this past week, 3 inches, I believe, and we didn't have any leaks in the tunnel. So I feel confident that at this point the tunnel leak has been repaired. They did a lot of work in there. If you'd like, I can give you some detailed explanation of what they did, if you'd like. But there were no leaks. So the work now is going to turn to finishing the removal of sheetrock and replacing the sheetrock, feathering it out and painting it and being done with it. Yes. Oh, you gotta wait for them. You gotta wait for the mic.
I know not long after I moved in, there was a problem with cell service and everything, and they put some routers in the ceiling outside my apartment, and it did help a lot. I was really concerned the other day because somebody called me, and all I got over the phone was, and they were very obviously upset. And so I thought they were in their apartment, so I went to their apartment, and nobody answered. I had to go all the way to the end of the hall by a window to make a phone call. It ends up they were at Parkview. Our connection was still bad, but I could hear Parkview. So I went down there. That is very hazardous situation. Is there any way that they can put more of those boosters in the building itself?
No boosters have been put in the building.
I beg your pardon?
No boosters were put in the building.
Okay, then routers or whatever it is that they put in outside my apartment.
That didn't have anything to do with it, I don't think.
Well,
I don't believe it did. So the cell phone was an issue when I first came to work here. It was a big deal. We did a lot of discussion about it. We had a company come and they were talking about putting boosters throughout. It was going to be, my recollection serves, a $300,000 to $350,000 expenditure. It turned out that something happened, and I think Michael, before I got here, had called AT&T or somebody, Verizon, and was told they can't do anything about it. And then miraculously, everybody's phone signal suddenly got a little bit better. And then there were a few, we did a survey, and there were a few, and I'm recollecting here, but I think it was 13 people responded in the buildings that they were still having some problems. We had a guy who is a family member of someone who lives here, who's a techie kind of guy, and we gave his information out, and some people called him, and he made some changes on people's phones, and they reported, and to the best of my knowledge, a lot of people that were having problems are not having problems at this point. So I don't know that it was near as widespread today as it was at that particular time.
Could they put hotspots in?
Yeah, my understanding, Jackie, just to be clear, you make calls on your phone routinely. You had one time and you couldn't make a call, and it happens to me all the time, but I don't know. I'm not sure how to answer that.
Anyone else? Up to you.
Going once? Going twice? All right, have a good afternoon.